Now, Mr. Gillette has not raised any objections to Interstate 10, which memorialized Governor George C. Wallace. He has not raised any objections to other highways here in this state. Is that his only objection, and the reason he's doing this is because he is so against Dr. King, and he hates Dr. King so much. In my opinion, this is the opinion I get in my conversation with Mr. Gillette. And I don't think that we need a person like that in the state of Alabama. And of course, I know that the new administration, President Carter, will not cut off any federal funds here in the state of Alabama. But since Mr. Gillette wants to do the people like that in this state, I'm going to get a petition signed by blacks and whites in this state and send it to the new Secretary of Transportation and requesting that Mr. Gillette be moved to another area instead of the state of Alabama or be fired from the Federal Highway Administration.
That's also English, or is that?
No, that's Western.
So you're using the same horse, I understand, for each of the weapons?
Yeah, I've got a really good horse. He got one that he worked with a lot. As much as possible. It's a little difficult for me because I do travel around a lot, as you know. So this is what I do in my spare time, and whenever I do have a weekend off or something like that. So it's something that I've always enjoyed doing, and you have to have some fun, you know. So whenever I get a little time off from singing, this is what I do. I go disappear and show horses.
Right.
1 year or two.
What is your favorite event, reining or what?
Oh, I like all different ones. I guess reining is the most exciting. You know, that's fast action and you know sliding stops and all this stuff. I think that's the one that the audience enjoys the most. I think reining and barrel racing, you know, are the most exciting ones. Most people get bored watching us go just around in circles. You know, there are a lot of different little fine points that they're judging on, and unless you're really into horses, it's hard for you to watch it without getting bored silly. I know I do when I'm not riding. I just, rather go do something else.
I don't know yet. A bunch of these people around here told me I could stay with them for a night or two, and I can just stay around with everybody till see what happens about it. Get it straightened out somehow or another.
Okay. Do you have any idea about loss?
Well, about everything in it's gone, most of it.
They say it's capped off and safe, but we're going to leave anyway.
Is this sort of the last straw with you? This is not the first incident that has occurred, I understand.
Well, it's just yesterday is when it started, and they say this is part of what happened yesterday. They didn't get it all. Whatever, I wasn't here. They just said they were bleeding tanks. So just when I got here, the whole place looked like it was in flames. So that's all I can tell you. Just if they want a petition, I'm going to.
Would you start one if no one else did?
Well, I'm sure I won't have any trouble getting folks to sign.
Well, actually, we haven't met to discuss the letter, and as you will notice in the meeting this morning, that is what I have suggested that we do, that we allow the power company to come down and explain what has been given to us, and so that we will be fully informed on the finances of this company.
Do you feel that the power company will be put in such dire state as it has predicted in its letter?
George, I would not like to make a statement about that at this time until I have had an opportunity to review it very carefully and to talk with the power company and with the staff of this commission to see exactly what the condition is.
If the commission decides to refuse to act on the power company's request, what alternative does it have?
You mean the power
The power
company?
company.
Well, that would be up to them as to what they would do. Of course, they can go to court because every action of this commission is certainly certain to be reviewed judicially. So I'm sure that they will be in court on the issue.
That this indicates that there will not be an effort made by the administration this year to take badly needed dollars out of the Educational Trust Fund. We've heard a great deal in the last few weeks from college presidents who traveled all over the state with their road show indicating their needs. I am aware, and I know the working people of this state are aware of the fact that there are needs in post-secondary education, and everybody knows what inflation has done to his own budget, and certainly that has happened to our very fine institutions of higher learning. It would be my hope, however, that in asking for additional funding from the legislature, that the colleges and universities would first be aware of the fact that the governor has said he would veto any additional taxes. But then secondly, it would be my hope that they realize that one way to affect savings would be to cut back on unnecessary duplication of program activity and to use those savings to improve already existing programs. I have been on several college campuses in the past few weeks, and I have found that oftentimes at the expense of the programs and the faculty on those campuses, institutions have expanded and gone into areas where there has been no justifiable need for expansion. It would be my hope that this select committee and the governor in his recommendation would be aware of the fact of what inflation has done to the salaries of all of those who instruct the 900,000 youngsters in this state, and in their recommendations would include for professional personnel and for support personnel at all levels employed in education a basic cost of living adjustment in salaries. I'm talking about the teachers, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, the college professors, and every person employed in education. Of a public school kindergarten program with the expectation that within 5 to 6 years that we could be into a full program for kindergarten.
Some sort of statute that does what the Supreme Court says it ought to do, and I don't think the Alabama statute does that. It's Louisiana, yeah. So the Supreme Court has...
It's not just the political realities which are so sad that we are using the death penalty as a tool against...
But the Supreme Court was pretty clear. The jury is the one that should determine sentencing. And the jury is the one that's the conscience of the community. It reflects the community values, and the jury, in a particular case, should decide. And in Alabama, the jury doesn't decide. The jury can only sentence to death.
If there was evidence brought forth that could show me that capital punishment, when used in a clear and non-discriminatory basis, would be effective, I might be willing to look at it. But unfortunately, there is no such evidence, and this is where our own Supreme Court has gone awry, because it believed in its decision that you can have capital punishment, and it can be applied fairly and indiscriminatorily, when the record clearly shows, especially in our region, that capital punishment is used primarily against poor people and black people. 91% of the men and women on death row in our country could not afford their own legal counsel. 91%. That is appalling. What more clear indicator could you want of the poverty of people we have condemned to death? how many rich people have you heard of being on death row? But finally, I guess the reason I personally am opposed to it, and so many of us who are working on the issue, is not just the political realities, which are so sad, that we are using the death penalty as a tool against selected people in our society. Because I don't think we can justify it on moral grounds. A murder is a murder.
The statement of Lieutenant Cunningham came to my attention on late in the hours of August the 12th, about 10 o'clock. We had a report on my desk, a finished report, 8 o'clock on August the 13th. Before the sun went down that day, I had it in the hands of the Attorney General of the state of Alabama, Bill Baxley, who had assumed the responsibility for the prosecution of the cases. The FBI had been looking at it, so I sent a copy to the U.S. Attorney, Mr. Ira DeMint. I then sent a copy by Mr. Walter Kanabe, city attorney, to Judge Thetford, who was the presiding judge and impanels a grand jury. So the information contained in Lieutenant Cunningham's statement, as well as a couple of others, were delivered on that same day to the proper authorities.
What do you say to charges of a cover-up?
Well, there wasn't any, so I have no comment about it. It just wasn't, and that's why I say I wanted the article to be finished. It just wasn't complete this morning.
In reference to the case of ex-detective Ronald Bush, can you tell us anything about it as to what happened and what led to his dismissal?
Well, this was a second occasion when Mr. Bush had gone out in the early hours of the morning and had an altercation. That's the end of the line, and the staff recommend he be dismissed, and we do have a forced resignation from Mr. Bush.
Mayor Robinson, will the city continue to pay the legal fees of Ronald Bush?
No. He no longer works for the city, and I've notified Mr. Bush by letter and by phone call to his attorney that the taxpayers of the city of Montgomery would no longer be responsible for any debts concerning any actions he might be a part of.
Does this mean that his defense in the perjury cases will not be paid for by the city?
Absolutely correct. Will not be paid for by the taxpayers.
May the day never come that we will suffer into such surprise attack as we did on December 7th, 1941. But I think it behooves us here this year, 1976, to reflect upon the fact that we are living in dangerous times. And that those of us here in Alabama, the governor, the mayor, I would say every single official that I know of in Alabama, and the people of our state, are very interested in the United States continue to have the strongest defensive and offensive capability of any nation, a combination of nations on the face of the earth.
Okay. Coach, everybody was upset and worried about the loss of Leon Douglas, and I suddenly look up and Alabama's number 6 in one poll and number 10 in another after 4 games. What's going on?
Phil, I don't know. You know, I'll tell you this, I'd like to have Leon back, but we played very well. As I told you when we discussed our ball club before the season, I thought we had some unknown quantities. You never know how freshmen are going to play, but Robert Scott and Kent Looney have certainly not played like freshmen with the type teams we've played against, and the older guys have done a good job. I think if there's any one characteristic so far of this basketball team is it's been a team that's worked extremely hard and has played very well together, and those two things are a pretty good combination.
Okay, you've had 4 games to evaluate Anthony Murray's knee. How is it going?
Well, his knee is fine. You know, as we said before, structurally, there's nothing wrong with the knee except he has a fluid problem, and we're just we're going to reevaluate him now. We played him more in the LaSalle game than he's played. He played 22 minutes in that game and had one stretch where he played for 7 minutes. The other games, he's played no more than 5 minutes at a time, then put ice on his knee. And I've been on the road since we played in LaSalle and have not seen Anthony. I'll see him this afternoon at practice, and I'm anxious to see just what his status is. But my guess is that we'll take the rest of the month of December and play him pretty much as we played him these first 4 games.
So you're encouraged by his...
Well, yes, encouraged from the standpoint that we know we can at least use him half the game. Discouraged the fact that we don't have him where we can have him 40 minutes, I'll tell you, because he adds a dimension that no one else can add.
I can appreciate that. What do you make? Most of the good teams in the SEC appear to be in the preseason doing well. I mean, the ones that were figured to be good. What do you make of the Tennessee loss to Duke last night?
Well, you know, Duke's a fine club. They beat North Carolina, or North Carolina State it was, and they're a good basketball team. I think, you know, there are probably 40 or 50 teams in the country on given nights can beat anybody else, and I think that was just the case there. I think it's significant, a great win for Duke to be able to go into Knoxville and beat Tennessee, particularly with King just coming back in the lineup. That's got to be a great win for him.
We are giving the pediatrician and those private physicians that treat children an opportunity to pick up this vaccine where they can give it in their practice. What we don't give them, we will go ahead and give in our immunization clinic here at the Montgomery County Health Department, which is every Monday and Thursday afternoon from 1 to 4. We'll give this until it's all gone. Now, there will be required a second shot given at least 4 weeks from the first one. So we will be giving the second shots, but this limited quantity, we can only immunize 3,300 children, what the private physicians give combined with what we give here.
It will have some impact on service to the eastern seaboard where the strike is in effect.
What about Christmas packages? Is it too late for someone to get a package in the mail and get it where it's going to go in time?
It is not too late for most destinations, but it's time to get your Christmas packages into the mail because of the impact that the UPS strike has had on our ability to process and transport and deliver all this extra volume of mail.
How about the deadline for letters?
Well, there is no deadline as such, but we are recommending that you mail your Christmas letters by December the 10th to the 15th.
Besides getting it to the postman on time, officials say there are two other ways that you can make sure your Christmas mail gets where it's going. Number one is to secure all packages and make sure they're wrapped and packed properly. Another is to make sure you have zip code on everything that you mail out and the proper zip code. That could mean up to a 2-day delay in the delivering of your Christmas cheer. From the main post office in Montgomery, Bill Weaver, WSFA TV News.
Speedball was initiated here about 4 years ago, and Kathy Fowler, one of our recreational leaders, was in charge of it and has done a good job. This is the final day of the season, this afternoon's game between Carver and Floyd, and we are real proud of the girls participating in this sport. They've done a good job, and there's quite a number of participants come out, and that's what we want, is participants.
Can you briefly explain how it's played?
Speedball is sort of a modified soccer. They have 11 players on it like football, and the football rules are followed quite a bit. You can kick the ball. In the soccer, you can't hold the ball in your hands, but in the speedball, you can. And it gives the girls quite a bit of sports. As a matter of fact, basketball, football, and soccer all mixed up in speedball. Oh, yeah. Yeah, after you pass now.
that's media speculation. That's all it is. Governor Carter asked that I come to Atlanta to consult with him about some cabinet appointments that he had in mind, and I was honored to have been asked, and I went, and that's all there was to it.
So what about reports of the Attorney General's job?
I'm a federal judge, and I enjoy my work, and I plan on staying here.
No plans for Washington?
None. Federal judges are properly hesitant to make decisions which call for the exercise of political judgment or which necessitate an expertise they lack. A judge's professional training is in the law, not in sociology, it's not in medicine, it's not in science, it's not in penology or public administration. I doubt very seriously that any judge relishes his involvement in such a controversy or enters a decree unless the law plainly requires him to do so.
My kindergarten called me Mrs. Sourball because I hardly ever smiled. Then I started brushing with Denture Cream. Denture Cream's anti-yellowing formula gets rid of dingy yellow film. And Denture Cream helps keep the yellow from coming back because it polishes better than ever. Yellow dentures took away my smile. Denture Cream's anti-yellowing formula gave me back my smile.
Good morning, Mrs. Healy.
This is a crepe, a delicious little French pancake. Hi, I'm Phyllis George, and I'm not a gourmet cook, but now anyone can prepare perfect crepes in less than a minute with the Oster Electric Creperie with built-in heat control and non-stick surface. Dip it, turn it, fill it. Crepes for tacos, egg rolls, blintzes, crepes Suzette. Guess I got carried away. The Oster Creperie for delicious crepes from breakfast to late-night snacks.
Gifts that keep on giving, 'cause they keep on living. In every style they bring a smile. Only Prince Gardner has it all.
Fine leather accessories from Prince and Princess Gardner. There's something for everyone at a price that's right for you.
Only Prince Gardner has it all.
Tonight, Robert Conrad in Bar Bar Black Sheep.
Let's make our turn.
Then Policewoman. Angie Dickinson and Earl Holliman star. Then on Police Story.
Okay, miss, hold up.
Dane Clark, John Amos, Eddie Egan, and Harry Rhodes star. Tonight, starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on NBC.
see the best teams and the brightest stars all winter long as NBC Sports broadens its live coverage of college basketball for the 1977 season. The season premiere of College Basketball 77 features Michigan against South Carolina and Houston against UCLA, Sunday, January 2nd on NBC.